Hello, hello, hello. Is there anybody out there? Hello. Welcome, 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 everyone. I am your host, Yarrow Willard, clinical herbalist and formulator and co-founder of Harmonic Arts. I'm excited to be sharing a bit more about tonic herbs, restoratives, mushrooms, and more today. This is being recorded, so you'll get access to the recording at the end. We'll send out a follow-up email. But before we do, just want to say we're so appreciative to have you here. This talk has been asked for by a number of people online, just kind of wanting us to do a webinar version for you all who are in various places where we couldn't get to live. So I'm excited to kind of go through this with you today. But first off, I want to ask, where are you joining from? So please light up the chat. Let's make sure this chat is working. I am here to answer any questions as we go along. We'll do a Q&A at the end, but let us know where you're coming from. We got folks from Edmonton and Saskatchewan already joining. Right on. I saw somebody from Winlaw, I know, Leduc, Black Creek, Thunder Bay, Medicine Hat, Shuswap, Vancouver, Bracebridge, Brooklyn, Ontario, Waterloo. All right, people coming from all over Canada. Well, in Tawasin, Courtney, right near me. So yeah, I live on Vancouver Island, and it is spring officially here. But I was in Alberta last week and it was snowing. Ooh. But you know what? Spring is around the corner. Now is the time to kind of build and cleanse, and I'm just really excited to share more about herbal medicine. This is the season here in the spring where we really start to do that. And I'm doing a bit of a cleanse right now. All of our cleanse products at Harmonic Arts are on sale. So it's been a good time to do that, kind of do the cleanse diet. But before we get into that and all of that, just seeing that folks are joining in, we're going to let a few more people roll in here. And again, Q&A will be at the end, but you can always add any questions into the Q&A here, and I'll try to answer them as they come up, or at the end, depending on how the flow goes. And also, okay, first thing, you guys are all from different parts. Let me know what you're drinking. What's your local beverage? What's your favorite thing? Are you having a tea? Are you having probably not a coffee at this time of day, but maybe water, maybe a glass of mojito, who knows? Maybe a tonic restorative herbal latte. Let us know what your beverage of choice is right now. We see folks coming in. Yep. Some people drinking cinnamon ginger tea. All right. We got a sage tea. Nice. It's a strong one. Some decaf green. All right. Good old water this evening. Some matcha. Nice. I love water, but I do love water inspired by herbs, aka tea. So that's what I'm having right now, having a little herbal tea. Doing the cleanse. So I got a cleanse tea going on. Blue spirulina and lemon. Nice. A homemade mead. Awesome, Terry. Sounds good. Well, libations up, ears and eyes ready. Yeah, right on. Let's get going. So functional mushrooms, restorative herbs. This is a category of plant medicine that is near and dear to my heart. I've found that over the years, people respond really well to the adaptogens and the tonics. And so we really wanted to, at Harmonic Arts, kind of showcase some of these and build some formulas and build some blends with these in mind. And so that's what we're going to talk a bit about today. I'm going to start by telling you a bit about our story. If you're here, you probably already know a little bit about Harmonic Arts, but I'm going to start with that. And then we're going to go into some of the restorative herbs and then into some functional mushrooms. So without further ado, let's talk about Harmonic Arts for a second. So this is our little facility on Vancouver Island. We are clinical herbalists, myself and my wife, Angela Willard, started this, geez, getting close to 20 years ago now, 2008. It says 2009, but I know the inspiration came earlier than that. And really our concept was always to really bring food, medicine to people in a way that was accessible and available and high quality. We really specialize in producing formulations and really want to like tune in with time-honored healing and touch that with modern research. So Harmonic Arts does a lot of herbal lattes. We do elixirs or that kind of drink. We do mushrooms. We work with tinctures, capsules, syrups, you name it. And I think part of that whole kind of story that we found was by really being closer to the natural world, even if it's just in the foods and in the medicines we take, we really start to find our body's intelligence builds into the wisdom of the planet. And today is the day before Earth Day, but really it's Earth Week, which really it's Earth Month, which really means every day is Earth Day. So celebrate with you is awesome for me. Here I am just kind of tuning in with the energies of we are part of this earth. And the reminder this month, this week, this day is that we're celebrating our connection to plants, to the natural world, to each other. And so I just want to remind you tomorrow, go out, touch some grass, give some thanks to the Pachamama, whatever you want to call it, Mother Gaia, the earth, just for all that she does, for all that we have and all the abundance in this world. The world is a resilient and beautiful place, despite what they tell you on the media. There is amazing, amazing things happening all over the planet, really trying to bring back Earth as a focus. So that's been a big part of our focus at Harmonic Arts. And our mission has really been to provide easy and effective herbal products that empower everyone on their path to wellness. And this idea of empower, these aren't magic bullets. These aren't an A plus B equals C equation. This is really about helping build our body back into harmony by supporting us through holistic, healthy, vital living practices. And herbal medicine has always been people's medicine. It is the medicine of the earth that can help us really realign the intelligence of our body with the intelligence of the world around us. And that's been a big part of our mission, to really help put that at the forefront of everything we do. We're a value-driven company with that in mind. And so in that sense, we're herbalists first and foremost. We might be business owners and formulators and visionaries around plant medicine, but the reality is that as a herbalist, all the things we do at Harmonic Arts are based on this kind of value-driven, holistic model. And that's really a little bit about us. Last thing I'll say is that we take sourcing really seriously. Sustainable sourced ingredients has been a big pride of ours. When we first started Harmonic Arts, there was not a lot of access to organic herbs. Since then, we've seen a massive surge in the world market and awareness around organics, but also around plant medicine as having a really powerful place in our healing kind of repertoires. And so we're starting to see more and more access to plant medicine. The challenge is that also puts strain on the environment, and that's also put a lot of strain on ecosystems as well as farmers trying to really create value and also build healthy quality soil as well as healthy ingredients. So something that we found is that over the years, the supply chains have really been tested. And so we've been really working with a group called Sustainable Herbs Initiative to help to really identify how to really come in and support the entire ecosystem when working with plant medicine. We didn't get into this to be extractive capitalism. We got in this to help heal people through connection with nature. And so that's been at the forefront of our business model, is really trying to not only supply organic herbs, but also really try to fit into a sustainable way of showing up on the planet to build resilience for the whole picture, not just for the people working with the plants, but also for the farmers, for the whole supply chain all the way along. And so with that, we do a lot of quality testing. We do a lot of third-party testing, but also vendor vetting, where we make our vendors go through a lot of loops to try and figure out where they're getting their herbs, how they're being processed. You know, I've seen some stuff in the industry over the years, and it's amazing to me how often this part is overlooked. And from a supply chain side, most consumers have no idea the legwork that can go into trying to create ethical sourcing. Right now, we see in the world market that it's very disconnected between farmer and people using herbs. And we aim to change that with a lot more transparency. And that's been part of what Harmonic Arts is all about and what we're trying to prioritize with our work with the Sustainable Herbs Initiative and just in general, really tuning in at a deeper level. So that's enough about us. Oh, maybe there's more. Got one more slide here. So with that, we really wanted to put our money where our mouth is. And so we went for our BCorp certification a few years ago. This was a really big undertaking for us. We thought we were doing a great job of really trying to be a impact-driven company, but we realized in doing the certification, there was always so much more in looking at our fair living wage and just work safe space, to looking at how we work with water in our facility, to low impact shipping, to low impact packaging and production, to also really trying to work with making sure all the way along the line everyone is being treated fairly and healthily in a holistic model. To me, I believe that business should be the change we want to see in the world, and we vote with our dollar. And so part of you voting for Harmonic Arts with your dollar is supporting that type of process of really trying to care for this larger planet as a planet-friendly business. And there's many others that are B Corp. If you haven't heard of this certification, I highly recommend you check it out. This is a really great way of understanding kind of how a business can go through creating more transparency and accountability and more impact in the way that they make their decisions. As a value-driven company, this makes a big difference. And so part of that has always been in our minds, doing the 1% for the Planet program, where we give back to our local forest to help protect the second growth forest so that there can be more in the future. We realize that in, at least where I live, there's about less than 1% old growth forest on Vancouver Island now. It's a shame. But if we protect second growth forest, we can create more old growth in the long run. And where that mesh of that complex stability and biodiversity happens in the old growth forest is where all the magic and all the wonderful conversations in the natural world are really emerging in these beautiful ways. And that's what we're here to protect. Okay, so let's talk about restoratives and mushrooms. This is as I mentioned earlier, a favorite of mine, this topic of really looking at tonic herbalism. And it comes out of the Chinese medicine as a form of what they call superior herbalism. And in a sense, what it means is it's herbs that are toning and nourishing and strengthening and building the tissues to restore the body to function and overall health. This is about vitality. And so most of our tonic herbs are quite safe, they're quite gentle, and they're easy to use on a regular basis. These are herbs you've probably heard of. Things like ashwagandha or ginseng or reishi, these all fit into the tonic herbal category. But in general, what I love about this whole area of adaptogens, the functional mushrooms, the nutritives and the bitters, and all these types of herbs, is they tend to have a much wider effect in the body, helping the body come back into balance and build its own intelligence. And this is where I really see this affinity of connection with herbs and people to be really powerful, as this lens of being able to not just support the brain, but support the neurobiology and the circulation and the digestion and all of the tissues that go along with it. Not just support the immune system, but also support the blood flow, support the detoxification, support the movement and elimination out, as well as anti-inflammatory effects. So we see this in many of these tonic herbs. They have panacea effects. And so these are the herbs that we're really excited right now to be working with in a deeper way. When it comes to creating high quality organic sourcing for herbs, this is the area we want to continue to see the market push towards. Is many of these what would be considered tonic herbs are some of our most popular herbs, but some of them are not being done in the most sustainable way. And so this is a really important piece of that whole picture. So let's get into some tonic herbs. I want to start by saying, in the lens of this restorative category of herbs, we've been building out a bit of a line, really about two products here called Resilience and Radiance. And you can see them on the screen there. These are two that we're very proud of. They're in their third iteration now. I'm going to say 10 years in the making. And really what it is to building up formulas that support our overall wellness. One being resilience we'll go into first, and then radiance. Resilience being more that adaptogen for stress and energy, and just supporting the body in having more of that capacity. And the other one being radiance, which is really about healthy glow and skin elasticity, longevity, and really helping the body move through transitions. So they're both based on adaptogens for the most part, helping respond to stress. And this concept of tonics, which we're going to explore a little deeper, is really in helping replenish what life depletes. Something else I'd love to put into your mind is that often in our world, people think vitality equals energy, and they forget that vitality is not just energy. It's also about our ability to maintain calm. So having energy but anxiety is not vitality. Having calm but no energy is not vitality. So V equals EC squared is what I like to say. Vitality equals energy and calm. So these plants are here to support our bodies and adapt to balance. And like I said, this comes out of Chinese medicine, this original concept of tonic herbalism. And it was really designed to look at herbs that can support overall wellness, not for people in acute states, but for people in chronic depleted states or who are already fairly healthy but want to increase their vitality and overall wellness. And so this is one of those categories that I really like to work with, not for specifics, but more for general health. And here's where we're going to go with that. Let's talk about resilience for a second. This one is to cultivate energy and promote recovery from mental and physical stress. These herbs in here are all built into a formula that works with something called the three treasures. And I'll get into that in a minute. But this is to improve our mental and physical performance, to help endurance and stamina, to help manage stress and energy, and really just to help us be more sustainable in how we show up. So I think of this as a real, not just an endurance blend, but something to work with those of us who have a little bit of burnout in our lives. And this is very common. Most of us are fighting, as they say, the proverbial saber-toothed tiger all day long. And we end up having our cortisol spiking, our blood sugar spiking, our blood pressure spiking, up, down, up, down, up, down. This shortens our life, shortens our vitality in the long run, and really burns us out. Probably the most classic case of this now in the modern world is what I'll say your premenopausal 40-year-old woman who has been, maybe 45 to 50, who's been going for a number of years, raised kids, managed a husband that was like another kid, works a job, does all the executive functioning in the house, and is burnt out. I've seen this to be super effective for those people, but it's also really effective for those who like to work out and go to the gym and like to support that way. Or if you have a lot of mental performance, maybe you're a knowledge worker, you're in front of the computer a lot, but you're crushing numbers or you're doing something along that line, this fatigue can really burn us out. So if you find yourself going through different spikes and lows, resilience is really for you. This is about endurance and stamina, but also maintaining that kind of physical level of performance at a high level without burning out. Okay, so let's talk about some of the herbs in here. So I want to just sort of bring this idea of formulation in as we kind of go into this sort of phase of the talk. Formulation is really important in herbal medicine, and most products on the market are not formulated by herbalists because they're formulated by companies and they don't always have that kind of expertise. I was trained by a number of different herbalists through our herb school, but most importantly, I'll say my father, Dr. Terry Willard, who created the Wild Rose Detox, really tried to instill in us this idea of a formula should be like a village. It should have a bunch of different types of energetics that all support each other in making decisions with good leadership, but also with complementary parts so that every side of that is considered and supported. So we never want to make formulas where we have all of these super top herbs and no buffers or no supportive allies. And so we were trained to really create a formula in a way that's called having a guiding herb, some supporting herbs of different aspects that can support all the way along, potentially a nourishing herb, potentially an anti-inflammatory herb of some form, something to work with circulation and digestion and all along that line. So I've been really kind of blessed to get a good sense of understanding this. And right now, what we've decided to kind of do is really work with 7-part formulas that can have a guiding herb. In this case, it's Eleuthero as the guiding herb. It's 2 real supportive mushrooms of the Reishi and the Cordyceps. Then the Panax Ginseng and the Eucommia work as the chi and the flexibility tonic. The pine pollen is the nourisher, and the black pepper is the great circulatory, digestive, and absorbative herb. I see a question about from Karen about we'll be offering resilience and radiance in a powder form for sale. Not at this time. We've opted to make these into a capsule, partly because of the sheer amount of these ingredients that you need. And what do I mean by that? It's that we wanted to work with herbal extracts. And so we'll see as these blends kind of come along, how we can build out. I love powders. In fact, what I often do with a capsule like this is I will open it up and put it in my tea. Or in this case, even when I was doing some trainings at stores, we just open them up and eat some of the powder. But by working with powdered extracts, we're able to get concentrations up to, like, we try not to do like a 20-to-1 concentration because you lose a lot of that. Full spectrum, where we have all of the ingredients or all of the chemistry in the herb extracted in a hot water usually, or a alcohol extract brought back down to a powder to make it bioavailable, but also make it so that you got a concentration level so you can take 1 to 2 capsules and really have a therapeutic effect. So I'm just taking the tasting notes off of the Resilience, and I really love this one. That Eucommia comes through, and it's just wonderful with a bit of that Panax, Reishi, yum. Okay, so let's get into the herbs. Let's talk a little bit about why we might want to work with some of these herbs. And by all means, I am talking about Resilience, but I want to talk about each individual herb. And my invitation is for you to connect with working with tonics in general, whether it's Resilience or whether it's Radiance or whether it's another kind of just working with blends. I love putting these into my tea. In fact, I'm going to take the rest of this capsule and just put it right into my tea. So I'll be sipping on some Resilience as we go along. Even though these are building herbs and I'm doing a cleanse, for the sake of our webinar, I'm going to just tune in with these organoleptically. All right, so I want to take you on a journey of the 3 treasures as we go through this talk. And this is a kind of an ancient philosophy around our health. And the first herb is the first treasure we're going to talk about is Shen. And it's a Shen tonic. This is Reishi. I really love Reishi a lot. This is probably one of my favorite mushrooms, and I'll get into it. But first, let's just kind of dive into these 3 treasures for a quick second and mention the kind of idea of it. In fact, I should have put a slide in here for the 3 treasures because I really think this is a concept that you should kind of get a handle on. From the old Taoist texts and from the tonic herbal manuals, they really looked at this concept of you have 3 primal treasures in life. And it's not the male, the female, and the child, or the sun, the moon, and the earth, but those are fit into those 3 archetypes. It is your qi, your shen, and your jing. And I'll break these down for you, but I want to give you the analogy of being a candle, because this is how it was described to me, and it made a lot of sense. If you were a candle, your shen, which is the reishi tonic, is a shen tonic, is the light that your candle emits. Most of us have heard of qi. That is what's in our food. That's what's animating my body right now. That's what moves us and animates us, also protects us. We have what we call defensive qi, which is what protects us from outside pathogens at an energetic level. This might be our microbiome. The qi of our microbiome is protecting us energetically, but also physically. But qi is that flow of energy, and the qi would be the flame, right? The flame of your candle. So the light the candle emits is your shen, the qi is your flame, and the wax of your candle is your jing, which is your ancestral qi that your parents and grandparents and ancestors gave you, that is you're born into. You only have so much wax in your candle, and the brighter you build your shen, the bigger your flame, often the faster you burn down your wax. So the kind of old parable, or the old kind of understanding, is how do you build your shen brightly while maintaining the jing, or the wax of your candle, and restoring it. So we're gonna say we want to reconnect with our shen. Most of us live in a little bit of a disconnected way, and reishi, being a supreme shen tonic, is a grounding adaptogen, really helping to ground the body in, support the body in finding that kind of more balance, bringing the spirit literally back into the body. And so this ends up in the terms of shen tonic, housed in the heart is where that is housed. And this is a very protective energy that reishi works with. It's got all kinds of protective qualities for helping detoxify out all kinds of pathogens, working anti-inflammatory that way, and working for pulling out radioactive isotopes and helping metabolize all kinds of stuff. but it's most famously known for its ability to ground the spirit into the body. And how this shows up in health is it works with things like circular thinking or anxiety or monkey mind or that over windy thinking. It also helps to ground down with things like insomnia, if where we got that monkey mind at night, as well as from the mind, we see a lot of people get benefits for things like ADHD or any kind of neurodiversity, divergent spectrum, often helping to ground the spirit back in. Usually these are high frequency people like myself, and Reishi has been one of those supreme tonics for me over the years because of that. But then when we move down in the body, we see that it also calms down the lungs. So those who have really shallow breathing, or those people who have anxiety and asthma that kind of affects their breathing, or even allergies, reishi has some antihistamines in it, but also calms down the overwhelm in the lungs. We also see this as calming down the overwhelm in the heart, helping the heart strengthen and not slow down, even though it does reduce blood pressure if there's high blood pressure. It helps with palpitations and erratic heartbeat. So really helping strengthen and steady the beat of the heart and really build that spirit back into the body. This is probably one of the main reasons why this mushroom has been more heavily studied than any herb on the planet. More than ginseng, more than ashwagandha, more than any other herb, reishi has had more money in universities spent studying it and creating academic papers and researching it and doing clinical trials. And so there's a lot of validation behind this mushroom. They've been able to show the amount of free-form amino acids in there, things like germanium that are found in there, some of the different there's a ton of protein, but there's also a ton of really unique chemistry in the form of ergosterols and beta-glucans and polysaccharides, but also a lot of the terpene profiles are where they're really seeing a lot of the benefit of reishi. So immunomodulating, longevity tonic, nervous system support, these are all characteristics of this mushroom. So to me, it's one of the supreme tonics that I always want to include in my repertoire. And if I had it my way, I would be putting reishi into the water supply of every major city to help ground down the overwhelm of living in an urban environment in the modern age, because I really think it's the mushroom that can do that. And if you don't believe me by now, well, I'll tell you how much I like reishi. I have a 26-year-old daughter that's named as Reishi. So I've been totally tuning into this mushroom for a long time and just really find this to be one of the best tonics of our time. Probably one of the more interesting things I learned about reishi lately was that there's been some studies to show how it actually helps stop the shortening of our telomeres, which are the ends of our DNA that basically show our biological aging. So considered the mushroom of immortality, they've actually been able to show via studies that this will stop the shortening of our telomeres. So we actually do biologically live longer if we're taking reishi. So awesome tonic, truly one of the best. The important things to think about with reishi are making sure that you're getting it in a form that is bioavailable and that you're getting a full fruiting body so you get those terpene profiles. That's really what's most important in terms of quality with reishi. But I also really love to work with, and the reishi we work with is a Danwood log grown reishi in the high mountains, just a beautiful high quality reishi that is extracted properly, and because it's grown on the Danwood logs, produces all of those beautiful ganodermic acids in the right profiles and matrix. So love this mushroom, but you know, it pairs well with one of the supreme Jing tonics. Remember how I said Shen is the spirit or the light you emit, Jing being the candle that you have? Cordyceps and reishi have classically been combined, and so I really wanted to make sure they got added into this blend together because I feel like these two are just the perfect pair for that Shen and Jing building and support. This one increases our libido and vital essence. The Jing is mostly housed in the adrenals or the kidneys, as they would say in TCM, and this is really one of those mushrooms that's shown to help increase ATP and give energy, work with stamina, build athletic performance, help support stress, but also work with lung and respiratory health. So a lot of different areas. Cordyceps also has some of those branch polysaccharides that makes it immunomodulating and support that way. But really what it does is ends up oxygenating the blood better by bringing more oxygen through the lungs, bringing it into the blood, helping the body have more oxygen flow, more awakeness, more aliveness with cordyceps, not like caffeine, but more oxygen pumping through the blood, which is partly why it's become a libido enhancing herb, because really we're more embodied. And also how it works with the stress and recovery and with kind of energy and stamina. This was first sort of really brought to the world market when the Chinese Olympic team broke a bunch of world records, and everyone thought they were on drugs, and it turned out they were on cordyceps and this really brought it to athletic kind of awareness. And now we see all kinds of professional athletes, hockey players, football players, you name it, workout junkies, everybody looking to cordyceps as kind of that energy alchemist. So in my mind, this is one of those herbs, or mushrooms in this case, that we should really think about, especially when it comes to rebuilding the wax of our candle. For those of us who are adrenal burnout or have been type A personalities and we're go, 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 never get sick, and then boom, crash, cordyceps is the right medicine for that type of person. I really like the reishi and cordyceps together. I feel that you have more like a yin and yang balance where the reishi is grounding, the cordyceps is uplifting, and together they really balance each other in a beautiful way. So that's a little bit about that. One more thing I'll say is that you see this bottom picture here. This is a literally a silkworm larva. This mushroom traditionally grows on insects. So like beetles, dragonflies, ants, silkworms, you name it. There's all kinds of cordyceps all over the world that infect insects. And they even went as far as to make a show called The Last of Us, I think it is. Yeah, that is all about cordyceps coming onto humans. Now, none of the cordyceps in the open market is grown on insects unless it's the really high-end wild cordyceps, which is expensive. And I've totally enjoyed some of that in the past, but not for general use. So most of it is grown on a vegetarian source, including our cordyceps. It's all vegetarian. But what's important is that the biochemistry of the insect is mirrored in the vegetarian sources. Something that got lost in translation across that is cheap substrates to grow the cordyceps on. Oh, can you not? Someone says they can't see my screen. I am sharing a screen. Stacy, hopefully you guys can see it. Give me a thumbs up, or somebody let me know. Can you see my screen? Okay, a couple of people can see it. Maybe Stacy, refresh. Hopefully you can. All right, awesome. So I go, wow, look at all those thumbs up. You guys are awesome. So basically, what we found was that by kind of creating a vegetarian source that has proteins and fats and has more of those fibers and chitin like an insect, you can grow really high quality cordyceps. And so that's exclusively what we work with, which is why our cordyceps has some of the best kind of biomarkers that you can find with high cordyceps or cordycepin content on there, and also more of the adenosine, just these biomarkers that you won't find. So when it comes to cordyceps sourcing, these are things you should look for, making sure that it's a high quality cordyceps so you really get those benefits for the adrenals. Okay, so next herb we have is our great superior chi tonic. So Shen is the light we emit, Jing is the candle, the wax that we are, Qi is our flame, right? And our food has Qi. Qi is everywhere. It's all through the universe. It's like the energy currency of the universe. But as a Qi tonic, this one is to restore the vital force and to give us more energy and more Qi. Ginseng is the classic superior Qi tonic as being the third treasure. So between those three, this blend really accents supporting the three treasures in a deep and nourishing way. This one has a lot of study behind it as well. Ginseng is one of the most famous herbs on the planet. Everybody wants to be a ginseng. Maca is a South American ginseng. Suma is another one from South America. They like to call the South American ginseng. Ashwagandha people call the Indian ginseng. There's also one called Siberian ginseng, which is the leader guiding herb of this formula, but it's not a true ginseng. But this one is the true ginseng, Panax Ginseng, and it's a little more energizing. This is a resilience blend. It's about building that resilience, and it has more of that adaptogenic stress support quality. Really amazing for our cardiovascular system, great for our cognitive function and focus. People find taking ginseng while they're doing knowledge work can be a really good way to kind of get their cognitive sharpness. We've also seen that there's a number of polysaccharides in ginseng that work as immunomodulators, similar to the medicinal mushrooms. So you have that kind of pairing and benefit of medicinal mushrooms and their immunomodulating qualities, and the ginseng and its immunomodulating qualities to be more of that resilience herb. Love this one, and yet most people who are taking ginseng are doing it in the wrong way, in my mind. Ginseng is an Aralia family. It only grows in kind of these dense forest intact ecosystems, or can be cultivated, of course. And because of that, its true nature is it likes community. It's much better in a formulation than on its own. Even though there's plenty of ways to just take ginseng on its own, from my perspective and from what I learned from Chinese formulation, ginseng in a formula is a far better chi tonic than just on its own. So I really think this is one to be adding to for good quality herbal formulation. And that's part of the reason we wanted to put it into this blend. So the leading or guiding herb of this blend is Eleuthero, Siberian ginseng. And this is the endurance balancer, as I like to call it. I love this herb. I find it to be very neutral. It's not overstimulating. It's energetically supportive in endurance and stamina, great for recovery and performance. And it just has been really well studied for its adaptogenic stress response qualities. And of course, it's good for immune and resilience. But the reason I consider this to be one of the best guiding herbs, and I've had this as a guiding herb in a couple of formulas in the past, because it's so neutral and non-overstimulating. And as a good leader, you want to see raising up the voices of the other parts of the formula to really help them work well together. And this is really important when it comes to quality formulation. You don't have an overpowering, overarching leader like you might have right now happening in the current situation in the US, where it's like, whoa, this does not represent the people. And so Eleuthero is more of that kind of neutral, gentle, guiding herb to really support the formula in growing and really helping it in the best way possible. So it's one of my favorite herbs that way for that. It was heavily studied in Russia for their Olympic team and for their astronauts. We often gave, well, in North America, they gave like basically nutritional supplements to all their astronauts. In Russia, they were studying rhodiola and eleuthero and tonic herbs like that to really support that resilience and recovery because of the extreme conditions that they had to go through. And there was a lot of studies done there where they showed overwhelming results in eleuthero really being that stamina and physical endurance herb. Okay, so guiding herb of the formula, we've got 3 treasures underneath that. And the next one I want to bring in is something I'm really excited about, really showcasing a bit more to the world. I've been loving this herb for a long time. It's one of my kind of favorites out of that model. It's called Eucommia. And it's a lot different from many of the other herbs in this model, where we're looking at a herb that is good for flexibility, good for all the connections. This concept of being a linchpin. I think of this one as kind of that connective tissue, tendon, ligament strength. And most importantly, working with the fascia and really helping to strengthen the fascia and help to deal with kind of tightness in the body. This one is very anti-inflammatory, and it's like an integrity tissue, in integrity system kind of recovery herb. So I think of this in terms of holistic lens. Fascia is where we store a lot of our emotional angst and a lot of our challenging emotions. We go, nope, and we suck them right into our fascia and tighten up our fascia. So as a world that's slightly emotionally constipated, myself included, helping to release the fascia, release the kind of connective tissue and all that, that integrity system helps to really loosen up our emotions and release some of that stored trauma in our body. And so Eucommia is specifically a longevity tonic for that, kind of that stored trauma, anti-inflammatory, loosening up all of those joints so we have better flow. And one of the biggest areas where stagnation occurs in our body is in our joints, in our connective tissue, in that fascia where we get kind of tight, stuck not well lubricated. This is one of those ones, not like turmeric or devil's claw, which are other great herbs for arthritis and for connective tissue, but more about kind of relaxing and nourishing at a foundational level those parts of our body. So I love this tree for this. A friend of mine is growing some Eucommia, so I'm going to go and tune in with it this summer and just kind of see if I can make some just some kind of lay herbal extracts with it and play with it. But I've been working with the extract for a long time, and I just really love it. So we're stoked to bring it into a formula and share that with you guys. Okay, so we have our kind of connective tissue, fascia, emotional storing herb. We've got our three treasures. We've got our guiding herb. And then it's really important in good formulation to have a nourishing level. And I find that pine pollen is one of these kind of new world tonics that is really showing up in a powerful way to support people in giving them more nutritional density. This is an adaptogen for energy and stress, for mental and physical fatigue. It's a tonic in a true sense that it tones the muscles, tones the body, supports with recovery, and really gives a lot of base building blocks. It's very anti-inflammatory, and it's very good for our vitality support. Its probably biggest claim to fame, though, is that it has a lot of androgens in it. So these androgens are precursors to testosterone. They are plant hormones, and they help to build better lean muscle mass in our body, to strengthen and fortify that, and really help us not necessarily lose weight, but help give more nutritional density and more tone to the body, which can be really good for those of us with a bit of water retention, or those of us who don't have a lot of tone in our muscles and or want a bit more drive in life, a little more energy. Pine pollen can be a good herb for that. It's got a ton of free-form amino acids, so really good building blocks for our endocrine system, for our hormonal systems, but also for our nervous system. And it's got tons of unique chemistry in it, like glutathione and coenzyme Q10. It's got quercetin, which is an antihistamine. And I think that's an interesting one because here we have pollen, which is often something that people get histamine response and that kind of allergen reaction. But when you eat pine pollen, it has antihistamine quality. So maybe instead of putting it up their nose, they should be eating it. Not that we can always stop that. Obviously, pollen season can be drastic for some. I had a bit of pollen allergies this year for the first time in my life. Actually, well, last year I think I had like just a tiny bit, and I was like, oh, is it because of all the pollen? But this year I really noticed it, and I was surprised. It took me by storm. And so again, here I am taking the resilience, trying to support myself with allergies as well. Because both the pine pollen and the reishi help work with that. So I love this herb. I think it's easy one to harvest. We are just about to come into pollen season in about a month here on the West Coast, but most of Canada gets pine pollen in around June, maybe early July, and it's easy to get out and harvest. I got a couple of videos on YouTube you can check out, but just how to harvest this one. But it's a good one to connect with, a powerful one to start to add into your repertoire. Okay, so last one on there I didn't talk about, I forgot